Pre-calculus 25.1, number 15, maybe a bit of a tricky one here. Let's take a look at this. A square is inscribed in a circle. Okay, so if you don't know this, what this means, you better get to know what this means because it's going to pop up in calculus a lot. Inscribed inside a circle. That means that we have the shape that's just perfectly inside the circle where the corners touch the edge, okay? So if it's inscribed in a circle, all the corners are on the circle, are on the circle line, okay? If it's inscribed in a rectangle, or if you have a square inscribed in a triangle, that means that the points are on the lines of the triangle somewhere, okay? Inscribed. So like this, let me just quickly draw it. We have a rectangle inscribed in a triangle. There we go, see? The points are on the lines of the figure. So that's what inscribed means, real important. The area of the circle is 38 pi meters squared. So here it's written down here, the area of the circle, the area of the circle. Okay. What is the exact length of the diagonal of the square? So we need to know what the diagonal is. And to be honest, on your last evaluation, I had a few of you asking me to explain what certain terms mean. Can I tell you, it's your job when you do your homework, if you run across a word that you don't know, look it up. Ask me then. Don't ask me during the test, okay? Some of it is language issues. I understand, so I want to be as helpful as I can. But on the test, you never, hardly ever do you see a word that you have never been exposed to before if you've done your homework and if you've been listening and coming to class. So the math literacy is important when you do your homework. Make sure you look up words that you don't know, okay? So diagonal. I'm hoping you all know diagonal. That's an elementary word. But that's the distance through the center of the circle from one edge to the other, right? And in this case, the diagonal would also be, the diagonal of the circle would be the same as the diagonal of the square here. Okay, now it says it is a square, so that means that all sides are the same length, right? Square. So that's going to be helpful too. So determine the exact perimeter of the square. Now this is very much, and again, these questions, this is pre-calculus. You guys know that. Pre-calculus 20 level. Pre-calculus 30 level. After that becomes calculus. We are doing questions like this in calculus. This question is the first chunk of calculus questions that we're doing right now in Calculus 30 with the AP Calculus group right now. So you need to learn how to do this. Don't wait till grade 12 to learn how to do this because you're going to fall behind, like some are. So inscribed, we know what that is. Diagonal, we know what that is. Okay. Being able to write expressions given information like this for certain quantities, like perimeter, is going to be important. Okay. So the perimeter. Okay. So determine the exact perimeter of the square. Okay. The perimeter is all the side lengths added together. Okay. You need to know what perimeter means. So the perimeter is, let's make this side length S, let's say, okay? S plus S plus S plus S, okay. Now, that's not the exact perimeter, is it? That's an expression for the exact perimeter. So how do I find what S is? Well, that Q comes from this. The area of the circle is what? Is pi r squared, right? And I'm given that the area of the circle is 38. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and take everything that I'm given and I'm going to try to boil it down and put it, put it in the equations and the things that I'm looking for. So 38 equals pi r squared. Okay. So I'm putting some things together here. And I notice that I can actually solve for r here. Okay, I can solve for r because that's the only variable in this equation. Pi is a number, it's not a variable. R is a variable. So I could solve for r. How would that help? Because this is r right here in my diagram. Oh, well, 2 r's is the diagonal. So let's take a look at A here, the diagonal. So if I go, the diagonal is 2 r's. The diagonal is 2 r's. So let's put B aside for a second and look at A. So I can solve for r and multiply it by 2 and I get the diagonal. Does everybody see that? Okay, the exact length of the diagonal. So let me move this over here. I go 38, and that's going to be 38 pi, isn't it? 38 pi divided by pi equals r squared. And I'm going to do the square root of both sides because I want r all by itself. So the pi's are going to cancel out. And root 38. Can I simplify root 38? 38. Does it divide by 4 or divide by 9 or 16 or 25? No, I don't think so. So let's just write it as root 38. So guess what? The diagonal is 2 r's. So that's 2 root 38. Okay? Not. Okay, so if you also, the note was made that if you look at this as a large right triangle here, you could, if you solve for s, which I don't think in A you can't solve for s before you get r though. So yes, 2r is the hypotenuse for this right triangle, which is what we're going to need now for B. Okay, so how do we relate s? How do I find s? This is my question. And if I have the diameter, then I can see that this is a right triangle, half the square, and this is s and this is s. Right? So how can I find s? Well, this d is equal to 2 root 38. And I know this is kind of like a journey. There's a lot of steps here. I get there's a lot of steps here. So if you're kind of following me along here partly right now, that's good. If you totally understand, I'm ecstatic. This is the work for A. Okay, let me just organize myself a little bit. I used all this for A. And now for B, I'm writing the perimeter, which is 4 s's. And now I need to solve for what that s is because and now I'm going to use D. So s squared plus s squared equals 2 root 38 squared. Okay? And that's 2s squared. And this over here is 4 root 38 times root 38. Okay, now, today we're going to be focusing on learning how to multiply radicals. But does anyone know what 2 root 38 times 2 root 38 would be? We haven't really spent a lot of time learning this, but you should know a little bit about this. So I've already started to help you. You multiply the numbers times the numbers to get 4, and then the radicals times the radicals. So if you square root 38, what does that equal? It equals just 38. That's right. If you square a square root, you just get the number. So this is 4 times 38 right here. Okay, so we've got 2s squared equals, what's that, 120, 152? Divided by 2. Somebody's checking my math here, right? 152 divided by 2, what's that, 76? Ish? Yeah. Good, thank you. S equals root 76. Does 76 have any perfect square factors? No? Okay, so not 4, not 9. No. Or 36. Ooh, 4? 76 divided by 4? That's 40 plus 36. That should be, is that 19? Oh, okay. 19. So, what did I say? 4 times 19. So this is actually technically 2 root 19. Okay. So that's s. That's simplified. So again, root 76 is equal to root 4 times root 19. That's how we got here. So the perimeter over here is 4 times s, isn't it? So the exact perimeter of the square would be 4 times 2 root 19. So we'll finish B off here. This is 8 root 19. And you know what? Let's make sure in our questions that we have proper units. So over here, this is meters, and this is actually meters as well. So units are important. I want to make sure we have our units in our final answers. Perimeter. Okay, so let's just double check that work. Does that look okay? Okay, so we checked those answers and those are correct. And Yeah, so that is number 15 on 5.1.